Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanet Hadi Vallabha Girivanet Hadi Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanet Hadi Vallabha Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Dana Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Nandana Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanet Hadi Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanet Hadi Vallabha Vanet Hadi Yatsodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Nanda Brajagana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajagana Ranjana Nanda Brajagana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pakacharya Asatarya Satashishimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Gauda Vaishnavindi Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sako Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki ISKCON Founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Navadvip Dham Ki Jamuna Mayi Ki Ganga Mayi Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakta Devi Ki Shishi Radha Golokananda Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Gora Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktarinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktarinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktarinda. Om Agana Timaranda Shyagananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Only Tamyanatai my Sri Gurave Namaha. So we're continuing our reading of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we're in Madhya Lila, chapter 22, and we will start at text 33. This is, again, Lord Chaitanya talking with Sanatan Goswami. Text 34. One is immediately free from the clutches of Maya if he seriously and sincerely says, "My dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in the material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your devotional service." Is it that simple? Text 33. Madhya Lila, chapter 22. Madhya Lila, chapter 22. Text 33. So the key thing is they're serious. If he's seriously and sincerely, right? Text 34. It is my vow that if one only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, "My dear Lord, from this day I am yours," and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on. Okay, this is from the Ramayana, the purport. This verse is from the Ramayana, and it's spoken by Lord Ramchandra. This is kind of, really goes a lot to impact our faith. This is really, and if one remains safe from that time on, it's pretty, a surrender, a shelter. Krishna takes care of his shelters of his devotees. So we're sadhakas, we want to get there. We're still having some reactions from our karma that's already in motion, prarabdha. Text 35. We have to tolerate those things until Krishna awards that. Okay, 35. Due to bad association, the living entity desires material happiness, liberation, or merging into the impersonal aspect of the Lord, or he engages in mystic yoga for material power. If such a person actually becomes intelligent, he takes to Krishna consciousness by engaging himself in intense devotional service to Lord Krishna. 36. Of course, liberation, we want to, in one sense, be liberated. We don't want to suffer anymore. So initially, that's a motivation. So some of these things in the beginning of our devotional service might be the impetus for us, to continue on and to move forward. Because the definition of liberation given in the second canto, chapter 10, is that when one is permanently situated, where they're free from their false ego, their subtle and their material body. That's liberation. After one gives it up permanently. But that in itself, for a Vaishnav, is not the goal, because eventually he wants to serve Krishna in whatever situation, completely surrendered. So those are the statements we were saying, that the Lord was saying earlier, Lord Chaitanya, and then he also quotes Ramachandra, and that's devotional service. Liberation here, as this previous verse is, nice. It might be a motivating factor, but even Dhruva Maharaj was motivated by something. He wanted a kingdom. But then at one point he realized, wow, that's, even though it's a pretty big thing, after he met and surrendered to the Lord, he realized it was like broken glass. I think that he gets the realization. Okay. Whether one desires everything or nothing, or whether he desires to merge into the existence of the Lord, he is intelligent only if he worships Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by rendering transcendental loving service. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 2:3-10. And in this intense devotional service, in the previous verse, that word is put in there, and I was kind of going back and looking at the word for word and seeing if that, like lobha, greed, is what Rupa Goswami says that we have to purchase. And I trying this. You find it anywhere in the marketplace, he said that you purchase it immediately. So that's what we need to acquire. Sisipal had lobha. He had an intensity. He had an intense hate. He had a very intense. He had his intense for his hate was the same as the gopis' intense for love, and that he achieved Krishna from his intense hatred. But we don't want that level of hate. Hate is a very dangerous thing. We got to be very careful. It's especially in a Vaishnava community, we have to somehow. That's not a quality we want to have, because it's very dangerous in a Vaishnava community, because you can very well commit Vaishnava aparad. So it's a quality we want to stay away from. Intense. We don't want to be intensely hate anybody, or hate, period. Okay, so 37. If those who desire material enjoyment or merge into the existence of the absolute truth engage in the Lord's devotional service, they will immediately attain shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, although they did not ask for it. Krishna is therefore very merciful. Right? The analogy is like if you've got a disease and somebody gives you medicine, you might not even be aware that they give you the proper medicine to cure that disease, and that disease is cured even without your knowledge, because if you're taking the proper medicine. 39. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusionary material energy. Purport. Those who are interested in material enjoyment are known as bhukti kami. One who is interested in merging into the effulgence of Brahman or perfecting the mystic yoga system is not a devotee at all. Devotees do not have such desires. However, if a karmi, a jnani, or yogi somehow contacts a devotee and renders devotional service, Krishna immediately awards him love of God and gives him shelter at his lotus feet. Although he may have no idea how to develop love of Krishna, if a person wants material profit from devotional service, Krishna condemns such materialistic desires. To desire material opulence while engaging in devotional service is foolish. Although the person may be foolish, Krishna, being very intelligent, engages him in his devotional service in such a way that he gradually forgets material opulence. Now, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, I lost my place. Yes, material opulence. The point is that we should not try to engage, we should try to exchange loving service for material propensity. If we are actually surrendered to the lotus feet of Krishna, our only desire should be to satisfy Krishna. That is pure Krishna consciousness. Surrender means not that we demand something from the Lord, but that we completely depend on his mercy. If Krishna likes, he may keep his devotee in a poverty-stricken condition. Or if he likes, he may keep him in an opulent position. Devotees should not be concerned in either case. He should simply be very serious about trying to satisfy the Lord by rendering him service. So this is really pretty amazing. Here, sometimes devotees are in either an opulent position, and some of them are in poverty. We see this. And sometimes this could be confusing. There's the case of Gadadhar Pandit, who saw Pundarik Vijayanidhi. He saw him in a very opulent position. He was brought there to see him under the consciousness that I'm going to meet a very pure, unalloyed devotee. But when he saw him, he had like these doubts rose in his mind. How could somebody be this opulently be a pure devotee? And then somebody was, as soon as Pundarik Vijayanidhi heard some verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, he went into ecstasy, and Gadadhar witnessed this. Now, similarly, there's a pastime in Chaitanya Bhagavat, and where Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, asked him to go and preach in Navadvip. So he goes and he's traveling, and it describes he's with his followers. His followers were Gopas, and family members from Vrajalila. These all made up Nityananda's followers. Of course, they were in the cowherd, not cowherd, but they were in, male bodies. The Gopis were, they were in. But actually, prior to that happened, Lord Chaitanya was in Panihanti, and when he was actually traveling his failed attempt to go to Vrindavan, he'd gone to Ramakeli, described that he met Rupa and Sanata in the dead of night, it says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, because they were still, under the working for the minister, so they were still incognito or protecting their position to a certain extent. So, but he went there. He talked. It was Raghunath. Is that Panihanti? Who lived there? Who gave the festival? Raghunath. I'm trying to think. They met him, and Lord Chaitanya told him that Nityananda was actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then when Nityananda comes, he already knows, because and then of course Lord Chaitanya tells him, don't say this to anybody. Keep this to yourself. So Nityananda comes, and they have the big festival. We have this Panihanti festival every year, and it went on there. That's where they celebrated this. And he put it on, this festival. It was at his house. And so Raghava Pandit. Okay, I knew it had an R. I was just, okay, I'm old. So Lord Nityananda wanted a flower garden, a flower garland. He wanted flowers from a particular flower that wasn't in bloom. And he told Raghavapanta, go get me this, make me a garland, go get me this garland. But he said, well, this flower is not in bloom at this time of the year. And Nityananda said, well, you should just go anyway and get the garland. So he goes, and there's a lemon tree, and these flowers are blooming on this lemon tree. So he makes the garland. So anyway, during this festival, and then Lord Chaitanya shows up incognito, so he kind of reveals that. But the thing is, at one point, Nityananda decides he wants to dress opulently. And just based on his desire, all this opulence shows up. People start showing up with jewelry, fine cloth. He's got rings on every one of his fingers. He's dressed in very opulent clothing. His cowherd friends are also dressed up in very opulent clothing. And so this way they travel in Navadvip. So there's this one Brahmin who sees him. Now we're getting to the point here, finally to the point here. He sees Nityananda dressed like this. And Nityananda had the reputation of being an avadut, a sannyasi. And this puts doubts in his mind. Why is this person that's supposed to be an avadutta dressed so opulently like this? It created doubts in his mind. So he goes, by chance, he goes to Navadvip. He goes to see Lord Chaitanya, and he wants to reveal his mind to Lord Chaitanya about this situation. So this Lord Chaitanya reveals to him that this, he tells him who Nityananda is, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's sometimes judging, we see in some of these cases, first impressions aren't always what they seem. And we have to, as Vaishnavas, these are what might be considered exceptions to the rule. But even we have to be careful about making judgments about anybody, especially as sadhakas. It's very careful. Because when you pick sides from one Vaishnava or another, it's just a number of places in Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita that one commits spiritual suicide. As soon as you pass a judgment on this sadhaka against this sadhaka, it's spiritual suicide. And today with social media, it's so difficult. If you get wrapped into this stuff, it's very easy to see. You can see people that take sides, and they criticize one or criticize the other. And so oftentimes it's so degraded because we're sadhakas, we're not perfected our worship yet. Some of this are based on bodily concept of life. It's based on oppression. Oh, how ugly that person looks. All right? So they'll make a comment like that. They'll judge a person not by the quality of their devotional service, but by their appearance. Whether it's a negative appearance or a positive appearance, opulent or poverty looking. So this is the important point we're trying to learn here. That even-mindedness is the best. Stay in the center. Watch out for the extremes. But even in a movement like ours, we have extremists on both sides. So we have to be careful, to not be infected, especially in the infection comes out in social media. Normally in the association, we guard ourselves. But these are some of the things the negative things that comes out of that. Okay, text number 40. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desires, he undoubtedly does so. But he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives him shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 5:19-27. You see in these sections, these chapters, especially these 4 or 5 chapters here with Rupa and Sanat, Lord Chaitanya is quoting a lot of verses from Scripture, even in his preaching, in his discussion. Text 42. When he was being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva, Maharaj said, "O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I have gotten you, who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I found a most valuable jewel. Therefore, I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you. This verse is from Hari Bhakta Suyodhya 7:28, and also we know this is also in Srimad Bhagavatam. After Dhruva saw him, he offers prayers. Well, first off, when you see the Lord, like particularly was most people in this condition, you're going to lose it for a minute. You're going to just like, oh my God, this is what, the Supreme Lord. And especially when he's as effulgent and his opulence are really manifested, because he can ramp it up or ramp it down, the Supreme Lord can do, So then, you offer prayers. You offer your obeisances, you offer your prayers. That's the etiquette on the Lord. This is what we're being trained up to do. First, immediately upon seeing the Lord, you offer your prayers, especially if you recognize him. Of course, like the washerman didn't recognize who he was, and so some people don't. Then those like the Leela. But Dhruva at first couldn't offer any prayers because he was like completely, freaked out to a certain extent. It's the hubbada, And then the Lord took a conch shell and touched him on the head. And that allowed him to clear his head, and then he begins offering prayers. And so we see the prayers here. Text 43. Please forgive me here. This is some good stuff. The conditioned souls are wandering throughout the different planets of the universe, entering various species of life. By good fortune, one of these souls may somehow or other be delivered from the ocean of essence, just as one of the many big logs in a flowing river may by chance reach the bank. Purport. There are unlimited conditioned souls who are bereft of Lord Krishna's service. Not knowing how to cross the ocean of essence, they are scattered by the waves of time and tide. However, some are fortunate to contact devotees, and by this contact, they are delivered from the ocean of essence, just as a log floating down the river accidentally washes upon the bank. I mean, the human form of life is so rare. I mean, we think we have like 8 or 9 billion people on the planet right now. That's a big number. But compared to the living entities, I don't think you can come up with a number. It's impossible to even, calculate a number. And so that's what this conversation again with Rupa, Lord Chaitanya started with that realization. Rupa, there are 8,400,000 species of life. And he broke it right on down to how valuable the human form of life is. That this whole conversation, first with Rupa, now it began with that. It was one of the arguments that Vasudeva was given to Kamsa, don't kill my wife. He had grabbed her by the hair, pull out his sword, and he was going to cut her head off. It's like wait. He's just and I don't remember him right now, but it's in the first canto in that chapter. Sanatana Goswami has a purport where there talks about there's 5 types of words you can use to kind of alleviate a situation. They're categorized. Everything is categorized, and there's 2 other words that you can use. I'm sorry, you'd have to go to that and read it. I don't remember it right offhand. But first and foremost, that what he did was condemnable. As soon as he grabbed her hair, he was condemned at that point. But the fact that he was going to cut off her head, and then, of course, Vasudeva was able to convince him, these bodies are very rare. This is one of the things he said, the human form of life. It's very rare. You're going to do this in front of all these people. Shameful So he's able to talk him out of it and using these arguments. There's 5, and I apologize, I don't have them. I don't know them, but it's in that purport. So 44. Because I am so fallen, I shall never get a chance to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, my false apprehension, rather by chance a person as fallen as I am, may get to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although one is being carried away by the waves of the river of time, one may eventually reach the shore. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 38, text 5, was spoken by Akura. Text 45. By good fortune, one becomes eligible to cross the ocean of nescience, and when one's term of material existence decreases, one may get an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. By such association, one's attraction to Krishna is awakened. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains this point. And is vyagya, fortune, the result of an accident or something else? In the scriptures, devotional service and pious activity are considered fortunate. Pious activities can be divided into three categories. Pious activities that awaken one's dormant Krishna consciousness are called vyakta, umukti, sukriti. Pious activities that bestow material opulence are called bhogomukti, sukriti. And pious activities that enable the living entity to merge into the existence of the Supreme are called moksha mukti sukriti. These last two awards of pious activity are not actually fortunate. Pious activities are fortunate when they help one become Krishna consciousness. Good fortune, a bhakti umukti, umukhi, is attainable only when one comes in contact with a devotee. By association with a devotee, willingly or unwillingly, one advances in devotional service, and thus one's dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened. Okay? This is when people hear the Harinam, they hear the Lord's name, they get it willingly or unwillingly. Again, the analogy of the medicine. If knowingly or unknowingly, you take the medicine that cures a particular, it cures it, whether you know you're taking the medicine or not. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 51, 53. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't read that one yet. Well, this one coming up is from Srimad 10, 51, 53. O my Lord, O infallible Supreme Person, when a person wandering throughout the universe becomes eligible for liberation from material existence, he gets an opportunity to associate with devotees. When he associates with the devotees, his attraction to you is awakened. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal of the topmost devotees and the Lord of the universe. 47. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart as the Chaitaguru, the spiritual master within. When he is kind to some fortunate conditioned soul, he personally gives him lessons so he can progress in devotional service, instructing the person as a super soul within and the spiritual master without. So it's not a question of getting help. It's there. We have to take advantage of it. 48. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in the spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 1, text 6. It was spoken by Uddhava after he had been instructed in yoga by Sri Krishna. 49. Anybody got any comments, questions, anything? Keep going. 49. By associating with a devotee, one awakens his faith in devotional service to Krishna. Because of devotional service, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, and thus one's material conditioned existence comes to an end. That's a form of liberation there, by definition. Text 50. Somehow or other, if one is attracted to talks about me and has faith in the instructions I have set forth in the Bhagavad Gita, and if one is neither falsely detached from material things nor very much attracted to material existence, his dormant love for me will be awakened by devotional service. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, text 20, chapter 20, text 8. Was spoken by Krishna at the time of his departure from this material world, and it was spoken by Uddhava. 51. Unless one is favored by a pure devotee, one cannot attain the platform of devotional service. To say nothing of Krishna Bhakti, one cannot even be relieved from the bondage of material existence. Purport. Pious activities bring about material opulence, but one cannot acquire devotional service by any amount of material pious activity. Not by giving charity, opening big hospitals and schools, or working philanthropically. So devotional service can be attained only by the mercy of a pure devotee. Without a pure devotee's mercy, one cannot even escape the bondage of material existence. The word Mahat in this verse means a pure devotee, as Lord Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 13. Mahatmanastu man partha daivim prakritim ashrita bhajantyananya manaso jatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. One has to associate with such a Mahatma who has accepted Krishna as the supreme source of the entire creation. Without being a Mahatma, one cannot understand Krishna's absolute position. A Mahatma is rare and transcendental, and he is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Foolish people consider Krishna a human being, and they consider Lord Krishna's pure devotee an ordinary human being also. Whatever one may be, one must take shelter of the lotus feet of a devotee Mahatma and treat him as the most exalted well-wisher of all human society. We should take shelter of such a Mahatma and ask for his causeless mercy. Only by his benediction can one be relieved from the attachment to the materialistic way of life. When one is thus relieved, he can engage in the Lord's transcendental loving service through the mercy of the Mahatma. Now, of course, when Prabhupada came here, the whole country in the Western world, everywhere, was mostly ignorance. They didn't understand the value of Vaishnavas, pure devotees. And so not only did he have to teach the philosophy, but he had to teach everybody how to respect the person who's given the philosophy. Because if you don't respect the person, it's going to have an impact on your faith. If a pure devotee is given knowledge and you don't take that knowledge or discount that knowledge, then it's going to have an impact on your faith if you don't trust what that person. Because without trust, there's no relationship. And whatever endeavor one has, there has to be trust. So that trust is what this person is telling me. So we see here that to come in contact with the Mahatma, even though it's rare, it's necessary, especially for us to finally meet that Rasika devotee who will help us in our final endeavors for our relationship. It will happen. It might take hundreds of births, like Bhaktisiddhanta said, just worshiping the deity, right? Because I read that and it's like, oh, I think a mission is, it's going to be 100 births. But then I was reminded about the pastime of Lord Chaitanya when he has 21 hours of ecstasy, and he's revealing himself to everybody. But Mukunda, he didn't call forward. First he hid behind a curtain, afraid. But the devotee says, you called everybody, but you haven't called Mukunda. And the Lord says, well, during the day, he beats me with a stick, and then at night he comes here, and he's like my friend. Because he goes and hears Mayavad philosophy, in Navadvip. So then Mukunda said, well, ask the Lord, when will I get the mercy? And said, well, you tell him it'll be millions of births before he gets. But how does he react? He's rolling on the ground. He's ecstatic. He's happy. 1,000,000 births, I'll get it. And I was thinking 100 births, oh my God, I've never, just shows me where I'm at spiritually. 100 births is, and I'm not feeling it. That's nothing. Especially because if you get every one of those births in the association of devotees, we just keep it going. And it'll happen. That day will come. I don't know if I'll make it, but you all will get to that universe where Krishna's pastimes are being performed. And you'll enter into that, and you'll get that final training for whatever birth, whatever rasa that one will attain. It'll happen. Because that faith and understanding that, it'll happen. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry for any miscommunications. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. 52. All glories to Sri Guru, all glories to Prabhupada.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Bharavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Asa Sakalen Kriya Priti Manti Vasyan Vipan Kayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
coming. There we go. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Putale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Vachar, Nangilivasesha, Shunyadi Vasachare Satarane. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Siddhartha Ganana Siva Sati Gauraturinda. Shri Krishna Nityananda Prabhu Nityananda Siddhartha Gadada Siva Sati Gauraturinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadada Siva Sati Gauraturinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Goloka na na na, Goloka na na, Radhe. Goloka na na na, Goloka na na, Radhe. Hey, Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. Hey, Jai Om Vishnupada. Paramam Sapar Acharya Oshadana Sadashi Shrimad Divine Grace. Avaya Chananana Bhaktananda Goswami Shiva Prabhupada.
What an ecstatic kirtan. Haribo. And tomorrow there'll be ecstatic kirtan at the Hillsborough Christmas Parade. Begins at 4. And we'll have our Jagannath Rath Yatra then during the Christmas Parade. 4 o'clock tomorrow. Chaito Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. Really beautiful. Thank you so much. Sarvatmasnapanam Paramvijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Turorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatat Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kribaya Davabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadrudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyava Padamridamanastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatastusa Evanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction to humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. They're not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause's devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Sri